Action.
Hello, hello.
That's the best start ever.
Welcome, welcome.
Action.
Action. Welcome to another Inner Solutions. What do we call this? A podcast?
Live stream.
A live stream. It's
We're live.
We're live. Weekly, every Tuesday night, we're here answering your questions about anxiety, panic attacks, whatever's troubling you, whatever mental health related issue that you have. This is a place where you can come and kind of give questions and hopefully get some answers that might be of use to you. We're kind of like that car talk show, but instead of trying to fix your car, we're trying to help you get an understanding of what's going on in your mental world, what is going on in your life to have you feeling this way. So without further ado, if you have any questions, throw them in the chat. If you're on YouTube watching this, throw them in the chat. If you're on Facebook watching this, throw them in the chat. We're here for you. We're going to do our best to answer your questions. So go ahead and let's see what you got. As questions are coming in, one of the things that we'd love to kind of prompt you with or share is how both Jim and I have been, in the last week or so, going on a bit of a content diet. We're kind of fasting, so to speak, from all the content and distraction that we normally take in. And so I noticed this for me when the election was happening. I was glued to my phone. I kept looking at the news. I kept refreshing. And I just noticed how overstimulated I felt the entire time. I felt literally so full of information that was really useless and ultimately not serving me. And so I went on a bit of a fast, you could say. But instead of not eating food or not drinking water, I just didn't look at my phone, didn't look at the news, didn't look at TV or my laptop. I didn't even listen to music, and I didn't even listen to any audio of any sort. I just sort of did my normal work, and in my off time, I kind of just caught up on life. I did the dishes. I went to the gym. I stood there and sat on the couch doing absolutely nothing. And this was a really beautiful experience, actually. It helped me to reset my nervous system a little bit. It helped me to reset all the dopamine spikes. And by the end of it, I felt a lot more calm, a lot more grounded. And what I invite you to try, anybody who's listening to this, notice how often you're looking at some form of content. I mean, these days we're living in a culture where we wake up and look at our phones. When we're eating a meal, if we're eating alone, we put on some random YouTube video to watch. Maybe you're looking at the news or TV every single day. Whatever your form of distraction is, it's distracting you not just from, bad stuff, but also from really good stuff. We often think that when we feel bad, we should immediately distract ourselves and push those feelings away. But actually, if you never take the time to process your emotions, then all that stuff just kind of stays there. You've successfully distracted yourself, but really you're just kind of kicking the can down the road. And eventually that's going to catch up with you. So by pausing on all the content, by pausing on all the distraction in whatever form it takes, you're actually naturally giving your life some space. And our lives had lots of space back in the day. I mean, we used to be a culture that sat on the porch and just sat on the porch for an hour or two after dinner, doing nothing at all. Just kind of breathing the air, looking at the trees, just doing very, very little. That is actually an important ingredient for our general well-being, that time to be bored, that time to kind of just contemplate and loaf. It sounds boring, and it should be. Every now and then you should feel bored. Otherwise, you'll notice that you're just way too stimulated, way too hyped up. Jim, how has that been for you, like recently giving up a lot of content?
I don't think I gave up a lot of content. What I did was last night, I consciously got off the phone and then I just put my phone away. And I took a little bit of a break from, like a conscious break. Like there's all kinds of talks about nighttime routines and morning routines. So I was like, let me have a really healthy, good nighttime routine and then a morning routine where I'm not going to check my phone. I'm going to kind of just turn it off, put it away.
Yeah.
And for me, it was an indicator of how much I use that as a distraction, how much I use stimulating my mind as a way to keep emotions at bay, a way to keep thoughts at bay. And so when I created the space, there was kind of a flood of these emotions or these thoughts. There was almost like when, dad comes home after a long day of work and the kid's like, Dad, then listen to me. And so it was really interesting for me to create that space and then welcome in these thoughts and made me realize that, wow, as I teach this stuff for a living. And even though I teach it for a living, I'm susceptible to getting in these habits where I'm suppressing or not allowing stuff to flow through. So that was the big indicator for me, was kind of just, that was a marker of haven't really been paying attention to it, or it's been in the back of my mind, but I haven't been executing. And so when I executed, it was like, wow, there's a lot of stuff going on there, which is pretty cool. So I was able to to deal with it, to do some meditation and some journaling. And furthermore, just be in a quiet space by myself, and just clean and just take a bath and just, read a book instead of read a book with the music and, the whatever else is going on. And it was nice, man. I feel better. I feel more calm and clear, even just after, one night and one day. But it's an addiction, man. Like I realized it's really an addiction to when everybody leaves the apartment, I'm kind of here by myself and it's just like, just me and my thoughts. And even though I feel really confident and comfortable that I can deal with them or whatever comes up, it still is just this really, really hardwired addiction in me to distract or numb out or to be not so present. And it was a pleasure to just lay in bed, read a book, and go to sleep. But also, just a real indicator of, wow, I'm addicted. Yeah. And so now for me, it's the journey of breaking the addiction, and not even to label the addiction or the phone use as bad at all. But for me, just realizing like, wow, I want to deal with whatever's in my system. And it's what I preach. I got to follow through on it too. Yeah.
I love how you described it as like you're coming home and there's all these different parts of you that are wanting attention. And so it feels like a flood of thoughts and feelings. And I can totally see how many people are like, all right, let me give this whole thing a try where I just sit here and feel my feelings. And suddenly they're kind of overwhelmed. It's like, whoa. Yeah. And it's easy to think like, is that how it's going to be every time or the whole time? Yeah. But really, that first minute is kind of the hardest part.
That's what we teach in parts work, and a key element of IFS is you learn how to take this chaos, this flood of thoughts and feelings and parts and everything, and differentiate and kind of unblend from it and be able to do one at a time. But you got to think of it as like if you were just dropped into a classroom with 25 students with no teacher for 6 months, or sometimes with people it's been 30 years, and you're like, okay, now have order, and it's like just a chaotic scene. It's like, how do you settle things and manage that? It's wild. Yeah. So to everybody coming to the chat, welcome. If you're new here, this is Ennis. My name is Jim. We're Inner Solutions. Please if you have any questions or even just to check in, say how you're doing in the chat. Maybe say where you're from. Let us know what brought you to the stream, what you're hoping to get out of this. And we're going to start taking questions in just a second here. But we wanted just to check in with that's kind of been what's on our mind and what we've been working on with clients this week.
Yeah, I love that. It's such a big theme. I feel like even with friends I'm talking to, people are, maybe it's because of the election, maybe it's because of other things in the universe, but people all over are kind of seeing like, wait a minute, I'm way too addicted to these phones, these screens. And maybe for you it's not phones and screens, maybe it's something else, but that constant stimulation, it just needs a balance. It just needs a balance to create some space. Yeah. Let's get into some questions. I think we got some people here.
Stephanie says, hi guys. Hi Stephanie.
Hey, how you doing?
How are you? Kim Cogburn, my panic attacks are usually heart related. I get irregular beats, sometimes fast. How can I calm this when it hits?
What do you think about like we've gotten some of these questions before. I think what we'll start doing from now on, if we're getting a lot of repetitive questions, I think why don't we create a YouTube video, and we'll just link it in the chat whenever we have a question of similar. But so Kim, your question's about panic attacks and how they're usually related to your heart, and whenever you get irregular beats or fast heart rate, it's like a trigger. And this is a very, very common situation for a lot of people where you're sitting there and your heart starts doing things that you're interpreting as irregular or somehow a problem. Maybe it's going too fast. Maybe it's just kind of like skipping a beat. But regardless of it, you're noticing your heart and you're judging it as like wrong. As like, something's not right here. This doesn't feel right. This doesn't seem right. Something's off. And once you notice that, your mind starts jumping to conclusions. What if it's a heart attack? What if something's bad's about to happen? What if this? What if that? And of course, none of that's going to happen. Panic attacks can't kill you. Panic attacks are just a response to that fear itself. So when you're sitting there feeling afraid of, what's going to happen, that thought is creating fear in your mind, in your body, and that fear is creating new sensations, uncomfortable sensations. So now you're thinking, gosh, now it really feels like something's off. Now I really am kind of concerned what's going to happen next. And so, of course, you have more thoughts and you have more sensations. And this creates what we call the feedback loop. For anyone joining us the first time, the feedback loop is, from our perspective, one of the fundamental causes of panic attacks, where your thoughts are creating scary emotions. The scary emotions are creating more scary thoughts, and they feedback loop on each other. They literally create a vicious circle. And so the way out of, and as you're asking, how can I calm this when it hits? The key is to question those assumptions about what's going to happen next. Because if you're sitting there thinking, what if I have a heart attack? What if something's about to happen with my heart? Then of course there's going to be some fear in the body. But you want to start to notice that you've survived this many, many, many times. For most people here listening, you've had a panic attack more than once. And if anything was going to happen, it would have happened that first time. But the fact that it hasn't means that you're going to be okay. Like, that panic attack is not going to kill you. You've survived this many times before, and today won't be any different. So that's step one, is recognizing like, okay, I am safe. It's fine. And then beyond that, it's just getting more and more and more clear on the thoughts that you're thinking during the anxiety moment.
Absolutely. Don says, news now is very stressful now these days. News is relative to how you look at it, Don. If you take it, you have to remember that the job of the news is to get you to watch the news. So keep that in mind and take everything with a grain of salt. Mm-hmm. It's typically very sensationalized.
Yes.
Lisa says, hey guys. Hey Lisa. Stephanie DF says, my anxiety has caused a feeling of a lump in my throat and I feel like I'm choking during a panic attack. Have you heard of this? And how can I help it go away? Yeah, very similar to what Ennis has said. I've definitely heard of all kinds of wild symptoms, from feeling like there's electricity running through their legs, to lumps in their throat, to trouble breathing, to rapid heart rate. I would take exactly what Ennis said about the heart sensation and apply it here, which is that you just have to begin to release the resistance, release the stress, understand that you're going to be safe through the panic attack. And of course, we always advocate that you go get checked out by a doctor if you're experiencing symptoms, just to double check and make sure that you're all set. This is a fail-safe, but these are all right in line with all the panic attack symptoms that I've heard of from hundreds of clients.
And when it comes to kind of lumps or pressure points throughout the body, I hear people say, my neck is tight, my jaw is locked up, my chest is kind of tight, hurting, there's a lump in my throat, there's a lump in my stomach. What this is it's there's many ways to refer to it. If you're on the more kind of spiritual side of things, you might refer to it as like clumps of unprocessed energy. If you're on in a much more kind of analytical mindset, you might describe it as muscles that are basically just kind of knotted up because of the stress. And however way you want to look at it, there you feel it as this point of pressure. It's experienced as a lump in your throat. What you can do is, during a meditation practice, you can actually place your attention on that area with the intention of almost like dissolving it with your awareness. Almost seeing like your awareness is this warm water, and it's not judgmental. It's not trying to make anything happen. You're not like pushing it away. It's almost like you're saying to the lump, you're like, I am not you, but I welcome you into the space that I am. This is a teaching directly from a wonderful teacher named Adyashanti, where he'll say to that feeling you're feeling, notice how you are this awareness that's aware of that lump, that whatever. And much like how a open sky is unaffected by the clouds or the current weather conditions, you are actually unaffected and totally safe from whatever that sensation is. Doesn't mean it's not comfortable, doesn't mean it's not unpleasant. It just means you're safe. And so you can feel it completely. You can be aware of it and sort of dissolve it in your awareness.
I've noticed a lot, and this happens extremely regularly, that when I do parts work with clients, that a lot of times they'll be having kind of two parts in their throat. One part is something trying to come out, and the other is something trying to keep something down.
Oh, wow.
So a lot of times it's them like something really deep and emotional that wants to come out. So it really wants to have a voice given to it. And then there's a part of them that's like either embarrassed that I'm there, or they're used to kind of just trying to keep composed and not let emotions flow. That's trying to keep it down. So Stephanie, on top of what the great stuff Ennis said, I would double check and see if there's something that feels like it's trying to come up and out, or if there's something that's trying to keep this panic attack or you crying down.
That is so insightful. I actually never heard that before. I love the way that double kind of something coming out, something coming.
Yeah, usually sometimes it's a struggle, or sometimes it's just that's the lump in your throat when you feel like you want to cry. It's just you're fighting it down. You remember like in middle school, when you like trip and you're embarrassed.
You want to cry, but you're like, I'm gonna hold it in. And there's of course there's a lump there because.
With deeper emotional, exiles, which we call them, which are kind of these deep, unhealed parts of you, a lot of times if they have the opportunity, they'll want to come out or they want to take over. And then most of us have such a part that tries to keep us composed in public. And so, or even tries to keep them composed because they're scared if they just let the emotion flood through, it'll take them over. They'll go down in a depression. They'll just be overtaken by it forever. Mm-hmm. So I would really look into and do meditation, Stephanie, on it. Is there something you're either that's shoving this panic attack down, or shoving a cry down, or something that's really trying to come up?
Yeah. I like how you said that most of us have a part that is kind of maintaining this image, especially in public.
Big time.
And this is something that, if anyone who has like social anxiety, or just anyone who's like maintaining an image like this throughout the day, it's exhausting. It's absolutely exhausting. And the more you can kind of give yourself permission to not do that, the easier your life gets in general. Everyone knows that feeling of like, you come home from work and you take your shoes off and it's like, I can finally relax. Well, a lot of people have that with other people, where it's like you've been hanging out with somebody all day, and then you go into your car or something, and you're like, finally don't have to act a certain way around them. And that can stack up. This is why people sometimes they hate their job, sometimes they hate just a certain relationship, because they don't like who they have to become around that person. But the important thing is, you don't have to become that person. You can be more effortless. You can be yourself. And I know that's such a what does that even mean, be yourself? But it's just a way of saying, like, if there's something that you feel in that moment and it's coming up and you're like, no, come back down, that's a good sign that you're, maintaining this persona that you don't have to maintain.
And there's an internal war going on, so that's going to be a lot of energy expenditure too, where it's just this internal back and forth.
That's still a huge issue for me. Like, just in many ways, like being able to just be transparent or just kind of admit like when I'm feeling bad. Or
there's a lot. There's fear there. There's a danger, the contradictory danger, or confrontation, or upsetting people, or disappointing. But absolutely.
Because when you're in middle school and you show emotion, you get made fun of.
Totally.
And
when you're an adult in certain context, when you're a guy and you show emotion in certain contexts, you're made fun of.
And I think as a culture, it'd be nice. I think we are moving in this direction, but more and more, it's like it's okay to feel things.
Yeah, definitely.
It's okay to be upset sometimes. Like it's all part of the game.
There's a famous Bill Burr stand-up routine where he's like, why do you think men die at 50 of heart attack? He's like, because it comes from years and not just being able to admit a puppy's cute and stuff like that. Man. It's so great. All right, Ashley says, before COVID, I had no downtime. Now it seems I have so much that it's overwhelming, and maybe my anxiety was always there, but I was always busy. Ashley, you are representing a huge chunk of the population right now, which means they were distracted. And really what we started this stream talking about, we were distracted. We used our phones to keep us busy, listening to music at work, our kids, our dogs, or whatever. And now it's like, and it's just crickets, and just the thoughts are just flooding in there. Like, we have Ashley's attention. We must tell her everything right now. All the things we had from our childhood that are been repressed and that are unprocessed and everything, Ashley. So you're not alone. Definitely not.
Yeah, it's this is the experience of people all around the world, and people who go into retirement, or they just suddenly get a bunch of time on their hands. It's like all that empty space. If you've been running all out and not taking any time to process your feelings, then you kind of get hit with a lot of them all at once, and it can feel overwhelming. It doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. It doesn't mean like there's some issue.
Yeah.
It just means that, like everybody, we've got to process our emotions. And the first week or two might be particularly tough because it's like new and different. But as you release more and more and more, you're just going to feel lighter and better and better. So at first, this might seem like a challenge you didn't ask for, and it is. But also, it's an opportunity that you didn't have to create, because time and having a lot of time to process your emotions is something that we all dream about. This is a really, really great opportunity for anyone who suddenly has a lot of time on their hands, and you're feeling a lot of emotions coming up in that sort of empty space. Feel those emotions. Let them come up. Let them be processed. Mm-hmm. Journal. Write them down. What are you experiencing? What are you thinking? Write all this stuff down.
Yeah.
And just take that chance to process stuff.
Yeah. Be the mother to all those thoughts, all those parts of your inner family that is sending all these thoughts forward, because a lot of them are asking for help.
100%.
Big time.
I like that.
Felicia says, mine's at work, at the hospital, when I'm going to work and coming home, and being by myself in the car or at home. I don't know what else to do with the panic attacks. I don't 100% follow this. She's saying she's by herself in the car or at home, and she's having panic attacks.
Yeah, so it sounds like she's kind of listing some when she's going to work or coming home, or especially when she's like alone in the car or alone at the house. There's all this anxiety that's like there, and what to do with it. And it's really what we've been saying before throughout the beginning part of the stream. It's like maybe you're at work and you're on gear 10, and it's like go. Everyone needs something from you. You're full of anxiety about various things, but you can't quite show it right there. You're like busy. You're like, I gotta stay professional. I gotta keep moving. I gotta help this person and that person. And then once you get into your car, it's like finally the persona of being this person can pause for a second. And all those emotions and all those thoughts from the day suddenly hit you. and it's like overwhelming. You're alone, and there's no one to lean on. There's no one to get support from, and it's important in that moment to just sort of ground yourself in rest. As soon as you get home, it's like, have a healthy, good meal. So often when I'm anxious, I'm actually just hungry.
Mm.
I mean, this goes without saying. It's like when you're on an empty stomach, you're going to be a lot more on edge. So as soon as you can, like, have a nice meal, a healthy meal that is grounding, something with like carrots and potatoes, something root vegetables. And on top of that, you can just, when you get home, don't continue the train of stimulation. Don't look at the phone immediately. Don't turn on the TV immediately. After you've eaten that meal, just sit there and digest for a minute, or take a hot shower without any music, just kind of being in the moment. And if you need to take a 20-minute nap, it's like, if you've had this long day at work and it's exhausting you, at the very least you can rest in the evening, and you'll notice that you may be experiencing a lot of anxiety in that car, but at least when you get home, you can take those next couple hours to reset everything so that you can still have a peaceful evening. And I'll bet you that once you start doing that, the morning drive will be easier, and throughout the day it'll be also easier, because instead of coming to work on empty, you're actually resting in the evening and helping that whole process.
Absolutely. KJ says, my face and jaw are so tight, my head hurts as well. How can I help this? So KJ, I want a little more information. Is this happening like when you're not focused? Is it just like lockjaw, like your jaw's just clenched so tight because you're so tense? Is it happening subconsciously, or are you literally, if you focus on it, you're unable to relax it? A lot of times tension can be held from anxiety. So I had a client who used to have a lot of tension in her shoulder.
Yeah.
That was like the place. Just whenever she'd get anxious, her shoulder would get tight. So KJ, is this related to anxiety, or is this some other kind of chronic issue?
Yeah.
If it's related to anxiety, trying to discern the thoughts, the trigger, starting to get really intentional about what is triggering the anxiety. Is it a specific place? Is it when you're alone? Is there some specific scenario in which your anxiety / your jaw are being triggered and activated more? And other than that, it's you would use just a typical anxiety disarming techniques to help a situation like that.
Everything we've mentioned so far is applicable.
Yeah.
And I think it's also helpful to know if it's just anxiety, because I remember one time I was having a lot of tension, kind of what you're describing, but in the back of my head, kind of like my neck area. And at first it was like concerning. It's like, oh, what's this? What could this be? And that concern was enough to make it worse, kind of make me tighten up even more. But knowing that it's like, okay, this is just anxiety. When I say just anxiety, it doesn't mean it's pleasant, doesn't mean it's easy, but it is not going to kill you. It's not causing long-term damage. You're just caught in a fear response. And so knowing that can actually help to just sort of allow it to be there without pushing it away suddenly. Going back to that meditation that we mentioned before, where you're kind of looking at those lumps in your body, looking at those tight spots and saying, you're not me, but you're welcome in the space that I am. Literally just welcoming it, letting it be there, being aware of it, and kind of dissolving it with your attention. I would recommend that. I would recommend that to anyone who has like really tight spots all over their body. And on top of that, there's a lot of great therapies that are based in the body. A lot of what we talk about is more mental, where we work on the levels of thoughts and perceptions. So we want to change the way you think about things. But there's so many great things like massage, acupuncture, craniosacral therapy, different forms of body work, bioenergetics. There's just so much out there that's targeting the body itself to help clear these sort of stuck energies, to clear these tight tension-filled spots. And it's amazing how once you start easing the body, you'll feel much better. The body has a memory. Everything you've experienced, every kind of traumatic moment, every overwhelming moment, the body can on some level hold that in. And as you are, on this journey of feeling better and releasing things, it's definitely something to look into, some form of body work at some point.
Yeah, I would also add, have you had any kind of trauma or any sort of physical event that's happened to your jaw or face before? So we found, we did some deeper work with the client who had the shoulder injury, that she'd had a couple traumatic experiences that led to a surgery that she'd had and she'd forgotten about. And that was one of the reasons. So like Ennis was saying, your body kind of remembers those physical traumas in the same way. That's also where, if a tension is more apt to happen where there was a physical trauma. So what's your history with your face and jaw where that's happening, or is it a deep tension? Mm-hmm. But again, the standard kind of anxiety applicable practices are perfect here.
Yeah.
Are the anxiety / panic attack heart related? Shonda wants to know. They're heart related in that they can manifest as a symptom, as a rapid heart rate. Are they heart related as in, is it a problem with your heart? Typically not. We always recommend go get your heart checked out if you have something irregular happening. But it's important to know that a panic attack can be triggered if your heart does skip a beat, if there is some kind of irregular event, which can trigger a quick thought of like, oh my God, I'm having a panic attack, or something's wrong, which can cause a sensation and start that feedback loop. So it is related to your heart, but in a way of, does it mean you're about to have a heart attack? No, not at all.
You can be triggered by anything.
Yeah.
Most people get triggered by their heart because it's such a vulnerable area, and so many scary thoughts can come from it. But in reality, anything can be a trigger. But at the end of the day, a panic attack can't kill you.
Yoli says, hello, Ennis.
Hey.
Is he Hey.
My people.
What's up, Yoli? ¿Qué onda? Feeling off balanced and dizzy.
Yeah.
Is that a typical symptom for Yoli?
That's a typical symptom. It's like for anybody, I think, I can feel very, very dizzy, very off balanced if I am moving but fighting through the anxiety at the same time. And it's kind of like, as you mentioned earlier, this battle of like, well, I want to keep going, and this anxiety just kind of like slowing me down.
Yeah.
And I want to be careful with the advice that I'm giving here. It's like, sometimes it's okay to lay down, to go like take a break. And other times it's actually better to continue doing what you're doing as almost like a moral stand of like, I don't want to let this take away from my life anymore. Mm-hmm. So you have to depends on where you are. Depending on where you are, it can be good to just go with the flow and go lay down, go rest, go let your body calm down for a second, versus other people might want to just plow through it and say, you know what? No, I'm tired of this ruling my life. I'm just going to do it anyway, and kind of train my body to know that I'm safe regardless. But as always, with any symptom, especially dizziness and feeling off balanced, it's the way that you react to it can oftentimes be worse than the sensation itself. And so always look at that, like, if you had no resistance to those sensations, how bad would they be?
Felicia comes in hot with a big question here. Comes in hot. Is it okay to take medication? What's the best medication? I tried Zoloft and I hated it. So Felicia, we are not psychiatrists, nor do we recommend people about medication. I have personal experience with anxiety meds that I'm happy to share, that I've shared on the show plenty of times. We teach practices that we believe with congruent anxiety and depression, meaning that situational to there are, sensically makes sense that there's areas of your life to which maybe that's why you're depressed or that's why you're anxious. We firmly believe that there's always a way to holistically, without medication, significantly work through what's going on over time with reasonable expectations. That being said, we also advocate that if with the proper consultations with a psychiatrist, with a medical doctor, a psychiatrist is a medical doctor, but with a general practitioner, that medication can be an amazing, amazing bridge to give you some relief, to get you more involved and engaged with those holistic activities to thoroughly get to the source of and the cause of the anxiety, process the emotion, and make the changes in your life to live happily and sustain those changes.
I will say, I will add the caveat of, if you're only doing medication, that's not a good idea. It's like, don't just do one thing. If you're going to do medication, also change your diet a bit. Also exercise and meditate. Also try some cognitive behavioral therapy. Also try some journaling. But whenever you're looking at medication as this like silver bullet that's going to just solve everything, typically it doesn't happen with the best results, because our emotions and our thoughts and feelings, they're not just this, one flick of the switch and everything's back normal. It's as Jim said, a holistic thing. Every relationship you have, every diet that you have, every thought that you have, it has an effect. And so if you just try to go with medication without changing anything else, I don't know how effective that'll be. What's best is to say, okay, let me look at this holistically. What can I do with my diet? What can I do with my exercise? What can I do with the way that I'm consuming content? What can I do with meditation? What can I do with cognitive behavioral therapy?
Right.
There's so much that you can do that really, really does work. And so that's my one caveat with medication. I think sometimes it's very, very helpful for people to get through a rough patch of their life.
Definitely.
But it's I don't really see it as this like silver bullet, one solution.
I agree. Ashley says, can anxiety cause burning in your head? It seems like it never goes away. I've ruled out everything medical already. I've had MRI and every kind of test. I've lost over 60 pounds in 5 months. Wow. Cheers to you, Ashley. I hope that's in a healthy way, by the way. So uncheers until I confirm that that's a healthy 60 pounds and not an anxiety, because you're so anxious you can't eat. And no real answer to the brain fog and pain in my head. So brain fog, 100% can be a symptom of anxiety. 100%. It could be depersonalization, derealization, dissociation, or a combination of the three in some way. Those will make you feel like a brain fog. And as far as the pain in the head, tension, headaches, or some kind of feeling of burning is common that I hear among clients, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, it's really amazing how many different sensations and ailments can be caused by chronic stress, right? It's kind of like when you're in that mode for a long time, then naturally you're going to start to feel muscle aches, headaches, all kinds of pains. But it doesn't mean that you have to live like that. It doesn't mean that it's not curable, right. But it does mean that you might want to look at like where is your life full of stress. Sometimes people think that they're not stressed when they are, when they really are. Sometimes we can play the game like when someone's like, "How are you doing?" And you're like, "It's great. I'm all good." Yeah, sometimes we can say that so much that we start to believe it as if like, everything's like, just be honest with yourself. Like, how are you stressed? How stressed are you? How happy are you? And if the answer is like, that you are stressed and you have been for a long time, then totally. Headaches can totally be a result of that. Many things can be a result of that. Whenever you're in that mode for a long time, it just throws most people out of balance. So to answer your question, it can definitely be a cause.
Looks like you got some other people. Felicia's saying she has the same thing. Stephanie's saying she has the same thing. Mm-hmm. Fee, I believe, is a new viewer. I don't recognize his name. Welcome, Fee. My whole life since I was 13, and I'm 36 now, I've had anxiety. I'm married with 2 kids, and my husband hates my anxiety and says I'm weak and crazy, and the Lexapro I'm on is destroying my brain. That I probably am too far gone, destroyed because of it. That does not make me feel like I can get better. It makes me feel not safe. I don't have any faith in my own body to be okay because when I was a kid, I had 2 fainting spells, one at 13, the other at 15. They were like seizures, except I could see, but eyes rolling, and I couldn't wake up and couldn't move. It was a hell of a message. Those experiences have stayed with me my whole life. That's why I'm anxious. All the doctors said were, nope, it's not epilepsy, because they did CAT scans, but they said it probably was anxiety. Since they never figured out what it really was, it's stuck with me forever, and I'm so scared. I panic in car rides. I panic even at home.
Yeah.
Because one happened at home and one happened in a car. What do I do? I feel so lost. I want to be the best mom ever. I am a gamer, and my kids have so much fun. I show them Final Fantasy games from, what does it say?
SNES.
Oh, from Super Nintendo and Chronic Trigger and Secrets of Made Inside. But I want to travel with them when we are allowed to, and show them the world. But I'm stuck, and I guess my husband thinks anxiety is fake and it's weakness. I feel so pathetic. Please help. Yeah,
There's a couple things.
We gotta start with her husband here.
Yeah, there's
this is an issue, man.
First off,
Your husband, unfortunately, with all due respect, your husband doesn't seem to be well read in the subject because, number one, you're not crazy. Well, I want to be nice.
That's a great way to put it.
There's
No,
some
I
more.
like it.
There's some more emotion going through me because
That's a great
I
way
think
to put
any of us who have suffered and had somebody tell us that we're crazy or broken or that we're never going to get better, and that kind of lack of support, I think that maybe that's, well, I'll just talk about me. It's a little triggering to me for somebody to be so rejective and so dismissive of something that's so significant and debilitating.
Because what you need most in that moment is like support, and
reassurance,
compassion, and
of course.
It's like to be told, "Oh, you're a lost cause, or you're pathetic, or whatever." That sucks. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that anybody told you that.
Your husband has some cognitive distortions there.
Yeah. I mean, our culture is full of people who believe all kinds of weird things when it comes to mental health. It's like, it's crazy. We go to the doctor and we're like, hey, I recently quit cigarettes. Oh, great. Congrats on taking care of your health. I recently lost some weight and started going to the gym. Oh, great. Congrats. Thanks for taking care of your health. Hey, I recently started going to a therapist and, kind of looking at my thoughts. What? Oh, you're crazy. No, this is just, some people have a weird association with it, oftentimes because they need to kind of to look at their own thoughts, but they're, for them to acknowledge that therapy is a thing or that anxiety is a thing, it would mean to acknowledge their own things. But anyways, main point being, don't let anybody make you feel bad about feeling bad.
Yeah, let's get to some truths for Fee.
Yeah.
Number one, you're not stuck. This has been going on for a hell of a long time, about 25 years for you. Now, that being said, while you're not stuck, you need to get to work as soon as possible to start to sort this stuff out, and you're going to need support. So you're going to need to offset a lot of what you've been told about this stuff just psychologically, meaning that you have this belief in you that you're stuck in this way, and that's okay. That's fairly common. You're going to need to get with a coach or a therapist like as soon as possible and just get to work in learning the techniques, the CBT, the IFS, the lifestyle changes and stuff like that to start to feel 1% better, 3% better, 5% better gradually, to build up over maybe 6 months, maybe a year, who knows how long, but to really transform, because Fee, you're not stuck in any way, no matter what your husband says or anything like that.
Yeah.
The Lexapro is not destroying your brain. There's no studies that show any sort of brain degeneration from Lexapro or any other medication that I've read, and I'm reasonably up on the studies. And furthermore, with or without the medication, you can feel significantly better if you're committed and prioritize this. So, Fee, what I would recommend you do immediately is message us here on Facebook, and we'll be happy to set up a free consultation call with you where you can talk to NSRI. And we will talk about the next steps. We'll hear much more about your story. We'll talk about the next steps that you can do, because you're on a typical trajectory of anxiety, which is you're starting to avoid different situations.
Yeah.
The walls are closing in. And unfortunately for you, you don't have a great support system at home. So you're going to have to really be assertive about taking action for yourself. But you're not stuck, and you're not alone. And I'm sure you love your husband, but he's a little off on this one, because I'm saying. And if he needs to talk to somebody, have him set up a consultation. I'll be happy to educate him a little bit on anxiety and some better truths.
Yeah, I love that. Let's see. Yeah, so scared to eat was so Felicia.
Felicia lost 60 pounds. Yeah,
Mhm.
anxiety. I'm so well. Not congratulations then.
Yeah,
It's a making. All right.
that's a common one. Like you're,
Yeah.
you're having anxiety, you're in a fight or flight mode, and your appetite is just totally suppressed, and you don't
Yeah.
want to eat. And it feels like some people feel like if they eat, they'll like throw up, or if they'll be sick.
Yeah.
And the thing is, there just eat anyway. Just eat anyway. Have some light food if that's what you can stomach, but act despite the emotion. I kind of just want to mention that to people, anyone listening. It's like some of the great people in our world, the leaders, the change makers, they woke up with anxiety and doubt, and they just did things despite that. They did it anyway. And I'm not saying that's the ultimate solution, but it's just a nice reminder every now and then to kind of remember, like, yeah, you don't feel like doing this, or yeah, it does feel this way, but all of that is just how you think and how you feel. But you can still take action. You can still take action. It's not easy. I don't think it's necessarily fun either, but it's a way to it's a reminder of a simple truth that your thoughts and emotions are just suggestions. They're not like ironclad ways of being. Like, if just because you're tired or upset, you still have the actual ability to make that phone call or to eat that food. And just in these little ways, you can take your power back to kind of say, like, I hear you, thoughts and emotions. I see what you'd like me to do, but I'm going to do this in general. I mean, and on some level,
as much as you can,
Yeah.
you do what you can, because it's hard when it's unappetizing to eat some healthy fats, get something, get some supplements in there. That's a tricky situation.
It's not all willpower, and I don't want to make it seem like, oh, just grit through it and do it anyway.
Right.
That's a part of the puzzle, and it's not the whole thing. You also want to get rid of all the resistance to that stuff too. But it's just a good reminder in general.
Talking about having some thyroids checked here, which is always a good idea, just to make sure everything's okay. Fee saying, I hope you read mine above. We read it. Talking about thyroids. A lot of thyroid talk today.
A lot of
better for me.
this is super common when people are getting on medication or getting all kinds of health checkups. It's your mind has these concerns, like, what if the medication is doing something? What if I have this condition? What if the anxiety is caused by something else? And look, as Jim said, that all of these things are sort of, how do I put it? Our brains like to make something seem kind of crazy, like, oh, the reason I'm having anxiety is because of this rare situation or this rare condition. Oftentimes anxiety is caused by super, super mundane things like relationship issues, things in your diet, just certain ways that you're thinking.
Right. Overstimulation of the mind, too much media, like just overstimulated nervous system.
It doesn't have to be this like rare reaction to a medication or rare reaction to some illness that you're having. It's usually, and this is a principle called Occam's razor, where, if you're in a house and you hear a noise, okay, it could be a ghost. It's probably not, though. It's probably just like something in the walls, the rain, or like a mouse or something. But our brains, they go to that, right? Like you're sitting there at night and you hear like a thing, and your brain goes to ghost or robber or something like really like rare and serious, when often it's nothing at all. It's like a leaky pipe or like the trees outside. And we kind of have to remind ourselves that the same is true with anxiety. It's usually not this outlandish scenario that's causing it. It's usually something very simple, like just you're not happy in your relationships, you're not eating right, you're not thinking right. And as you fix those basic things, a lot of your life comes together.
Definitely. Stephanie says, I get these random skin crawling sensations, and I'm trying to decide if it's me panicking or just some annoying thing that keeps happening. I feel like since I've had a panic attack, I am super aware of every physical feeling, and I get scared instantly and then try to talk myself out of it. I know I'm supposed to let it be, but my instant reaction is to fight. Then, of course, it makes it worse. I'm trying to help that initial reaction so it doesn't go any further. Also, I have the feeling I need to sit still and can't move or do much until it all goes away. Like I can't do anything unless I'm comfortable. I don't know why I do that. Does that feel like a voluntary, it doesn't feel like you're choosing to do that, Stephanie. It feels like you've had a panic attack and there's a part of you that's so scared every sensation is going to lead to some really heavy sensation. And this could be related to what we call your startle reflex. And some of the best way I've seen, besides, typical dealing with anxiety and panic attack, is to do some meditation where you sit with that's your focus. Your focus is that you're going to just notice any sensations, anything that happens on you. If you hear a door slam, if you feel a sensation, then you just hold your ground. You don't move. You don't acknowledge it. You just notice how you feel about it. And what you're doing is you're gradually conditioning your nervous system and that startle reflex just to calm down, just to calm down over time.
Yeah. And you mentioned at the very beginning, you're saying you're trying to decide if it's me panicking or just some annoying thing that keeps happening. And I wanna point out that it's the same. Okay,
Yeah.
I want you to think of panicking as just some annoying thing that's happening. It has the same meaning, right? Because I think what you're doing there is you're feeling these sensations and you're trying to create a story of them. The story is like, well, if the sensation is caused by just nothing, then I guess it's nothing and I'm okay. Or if the sensation is caused by my panic attacks, then I'm going to have a panic attack and then that's going to be bad. And then, so what you want to do is sort of get out of that story mode and say, if I have a panic attack, I guess I'm having one. Okay. I guess that's what's going to happen. Or if it's nothing, then it's nothing. And that's what's going to happen. But that sort of obsession with labeling it and categorizing it as like, well, this is a panic attack and this is a normal sensation and this is a not normal sensation and this is a kind of normal sensation. It's like, it's all just sensations and none of them can hurt you. All of the sensations are just sensations and none of them can hurt you.
Mm-hmm. Lisa says, I've fought so hard for so long to keep emotions in that I am so used to being exhausted. How do I know that showing any emotion at any time to anyone will actually help me feel better? So the question, I'm not in love with the second part of the question. How do I know that showing any emotion at any time to anyone will actually help me feel better? The practice of being transparent and just releasing emotion or acting as is in the moment, processing through emotion, whether it's you externalize it to somebody else, whether it's you journal, whether it's you meditate on it, whether it's you go aside and have a cry, that action will 100% help you to feel better if you're just exhausted all the time. Because what's happening is that exhaustion's coming from the push and pull of suppressing that emotion.
Yeah.
And then also could be led to a little bit of a depression when parts of you start to feel shut down or you start to feel like a bit of self-blame or a lot of anxiety, like things are kind of hopeless. Your energy level is naturally going to go down. So Lisa, there's just going to be a bit of a road in the process of allowing things to flow. And there's many elements and variables to it. The acceptance of the real situation, the acceptance of your feelings, honoring how you feel, and ultimately being able to be more transparent in your relationships and external life.
Yeah. And the question is hard for us. It's like, how do I know that showing emotion will help me? I mean, to me, that's like saying, how do I know that eating healthy will help me feel better?
Right.
It's like, it just does, from countless personal experiences.
But also, you got to look at it at a macro level, meaning like if I'm going from McDonald's sugar to eating healthy, I'm going to feel bad in the beginning. It's going to feel weird. There's going to be a bridge to cross there.
Right.
So it's not like you just, hey, I start telling people how I feel. Hey, your beard looks like shit tonight. Hey, Millie, my dog, your attitude sucks. It's like, I feel better. No, it doesn't work like that. There's a transitionary period. So you have to look at the long-term change.
You're right. At first, you feel guilty about it.
Sure.
It's like
anything.
It's like, is it okay for me to acknowledge my needs?
Right.
At first, it's like, it feels like no. Because you haven't
feels
for so
selfish,
long.
sure.
Yeah. It's like, I know people who, let's say you're riding in a car and you got to go to the bathroom. You're on a road trip
Yeah, yeah.
with like 3 other people.
Yeah, yeah.
I got to go to the bathroom. It's like, if you believe it's selfish and you feel guilty about asking to go to the bathroom, it's like, that's obviously an extreme example of you're shutting down your own needs, and it's to the point where you can't even ask to, hey guys, can we pull over to go to the bathroom? Or hey guys, can we pull over to get some food? I'm starving.
Right.
And it can be as extreme as that to something subtle as like being a little hot and not mentioning it, or being a little tired and not saying it. The big one I see is like just not saying how you, like if someone's like, hey, how you doing? Just to be like, well, I'm actually not doing that great.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be like anything beyond that. It could just be like a simple, honest acknowledgement of like, oh, I'm not doing that great.
I find even in myself that people undersell or undervalue just sharing.
Yeah.
Just sharing how you feel. If you feel something, say something. Meaning sharing is not, I'm going to say this to you and you're going to fix it for me.
Yeah.
Sharing is just, I'm taking what's inside here and putting it out here, and it's going to go out to you, it's going to go out to me, and then it's going to go in for reprocessing.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I find that that's very undervalued in clients and even in myself. Just to, it's really important to share and be seen and be heard.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes there is a risk if you share with somebody who's, unsafe or a little narcissistic or selfish or lacks empathy, then maybe you'll share and it'll feel worse. It feels like you weren't seen or you weren't valued. But at the same time, the overarching thing is if you're surrounded by good people, you've got a good family, you've got good friends, sharing is so beneficial.
And for the people that don't have good family, good friends, like just find somebody, like start somewhere. If you only have one person or 2 people or 3 people that you can start to kind of talk to, that's enough. That's enough to start the process, to kind of get the ball rolling. And the proof will be in the pudding, because as you have these sort of moments of release, you'll feel better and better and better.
Absolutely. So Lisa, stay the course and share it. Anisha says, hi, Anisha, how are you? Fee with the sad balloon. Fee, guys, and Fee, we just gave you great news, though. The great news is you're not stuck. You have to take action. This goes for everybody here. Like, you're not stuck. You can see from our beautiful people here, you're definitely not alone, but you have to take action. You cannot be complacent. You can feel so much better. I'm going to get worked up if I keep going. So you can feel so much better. Message us on Facebook. We offer a free consultation call, strategy session for anybody who's a first-time listener. In that call is completely confidential, totally non-judgmental, but just make something happen. Do something, please. Please do something. Make our world a better place. Steven says, 3 weeks ago, I told you guys I was having trouble with waking up in the middle of the night for up to an hour or so at a time. You suggested journaling. It helped me identify 2 areas of my life that I have been troubling on an emotional level for most of this year. I've started journaling during the day as well, and I find that this has helped to temper and moderate my emotions in these 2 areas. Still have moments and sorting some things out, but the journaling has helped a lot. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that.
He's such a good dude. And
Thank
look
you
at
for
that.
sharing
That's a handsome post, isn't it?
Yeah.
A handsome post from a handsome guy.
Thank you, Steven.
Yeah, Steven. Glad we could help, and thank you so much for the support.
For anyone that doesn't journal, it's like, it really works. It really helps.
It's what you wouldn't believe how much it helps.
Yeah.
It really does.
Because it's that sharing thing, right? If you're not telling somebody, at least you're writing it down somewhere.
Right.
Kind of getting it out.
Totally. But it's
yeah.
also, it's going out and going back in, which means you're writing and reading. So first of all, you're giving attention to something that needs attention,
Yes.
which for any child or person, when you sit and you're giving them attention, it's beautiful. And this is attention for yourself, which is
Yes.
amazing. But then it's going in, so you reprocess it and be like, wait, this is a little off, or this is a little strange. Or it's putting something out there and coming up with a plan of action of what you need to do. It's so beneficial.
100%.
And you can journal. You don't have to just sit and write. You can voice journal. You could video journal. You could take a car ride and just externally talk as a form of journaling. There's so much you could do.
Yeah.
Stephanie says, Fee. Oh, this is to Fee. My husband thinks the same thing. It's a crappy feeling, and I understand. So this is Fee Eaton before was talking about her husband, kind of dismissing her anxiety, saying she's crazy and that the pills she's on are breaking her brain with no proof. But neither of us are crazy. Something that helps me is anxiety is not weakness. It's very true. Anxiety is from people who were so strong for too long. We all have moments, and it doesn't make you bad or worthless, and you're not doing anything wrong. Please believe this. I know how it is not having support at home. I'm here for you. Guys, we also want to recommend you guys link up. Like create friendships through this chat.
Yeah.
Be support buddies, because nobody knows what you guys are going through. Yeah. And so to connect in that way is a beautiful thing.
I like how you worded that. So strong for too long. Yeah, that's a great way to put it. You're kind of maintaining this strong image, this strong identity. Yeah. You're keeping things together. And at some point, it's like, hey, it's okay to not be perfect every day. Yeah.
Rahul, we don't allow whatever that is. So, yeah, he's got to go.
Yeah.
Fee says, thank you so much. To Stephanie, it's so hard and heartbreaking. I just want to be okay and be strong. I feel so small when he says it's pathetic and get over it. I've tried so hard. The therapist I have now says anxiety will never go away.
What?
Dude, this is driving me crazy. What do you mean? Have your therapist call me. I want to interview her on this show.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
I would like that.
Fee, if private message us your therapist's name, see if she would be willing to come on this show and explain why she thinks anxiety will never go away. The truth is, anxiety will never go away, but this we need anxiety to survive.
Yeah, on some level.
We need anxiety
to not that extreme.
Get to the high level. Son of a...
Yeah. To be clear, what Jim is saying, like some fear, some anger,
need it.
some level, like some basic amount of emotion. We all need it to get through our day, to function. But when it's overwhelming and it's really intense all day long,
no,
and that's when we call it a anxiety disorder or panic attacks or something, and that's
that you can work through.
You can work through that. It's
like having diabetes. It's nothing like having diabetes. Diabetes is when your pancreas doesn't work. This is when your my brother's diabetes. So that set me back and made me sad. Let it come back to the middle, Fee, which is that's nonsense. So that set me. I thought one day I'd break free. That's why I love the song from Queen, "Break Free." I wish I could feel strong again. It's been with me for so long. I have ways of coping, and then usually.
Yeah. So what you're needing is
trapstick.
Like you're surrounded sadly by people who are kind of giving you some wrong ideas about what it is that you're experiencing, what it is that you're going through. So you gotta get a different therapist. You gotta try different things, because the temporary short-term solutions of essential oil or whatever it is, that can help you calm down in the moment. But long-term, it's like, what is the lifestyle there? What is the belief systems there? What's going through the mind in a way that you are, how do I put it? Continually triggering yourself with things that are not true. And so as you begin to work through those things, your anxiety can improve tremendously. You'll feel a lot better. Yeah. So
message us, Fee. We will help you one-on-one. We've helped hundreds of people. We will help you.
Man.
At least get you in the direction of help and give you some support, because you've got some bad information.
and then,
so frustrating.
And I hope so. Jim's frustrated, as you can see.
I'm not frustrated,
but I hope this comes off as a hopeful message, because it's like, the bad news is you've been kind of doing some of the wrong things, but the good news is if you do the right things, you can feel better.
Yeah.
So
you're always the level-headed one of the two of us. You're always the level-headed one.
That's great.
I'm the emotional one, and you're the level-headed. It's going to be okay.
You're the tattooed guy. I gotta be the level. But yeah. So reach out, Fee, and let's talk.
Absolutely. Fee says thank you, guys. You're welcome. Fee calls. Thank you. We got some replies. We got some people saying that therapist needs to lose her job. How could they? And Fee says, I don't know why she said it will never go away, and that it's like diabetes, but it's stuck me down so far. It's not like diabetes.
And look,
it's not the same thing.
Maybe the therapist is trying to create some sort of
expectation management.
Expectation management.
Yeah, but that's a little too far.
Let's pretend.
Yes.
We got some YouTube comments here. My mom, as always, super supportive. How's it going?
We broke our new YouTube record today with viewers. It's amazing.
Hanako is here.
Not a lot of questions, but welcome everybody from YouTube.
Angie. Hi. Angie's an old friend of mine. Hey, how you doing, Angie?
Nice.
Good to see you.
This is the Ennis fan club
I love
over
it.
here
I
on
love it.
YouTube. Anna, what's up? How are you?
I don't know Anna.
I think I know Anna. I think I know who Anna is. I think I spoke to Anna recently. Anna, what's up? Good to see you. Other than that, look, we really this is the most emotional of the live streams so far, isn't it?
Yeah.
Usually we're pretty. Yeah.
I think we're starting to get triggered with like bad advice because I hear one thing that always triggers me with clients is like when someone says I've tried everything.
Yeah.
And then I ask them, well, what have you tried? And they say, well, I've tried this medication, that medication, and yeah, I've tried everything. And I'm like, well, it sounds like you've only tried one thing, and there's many more things that we can try.
So many more things.
Again, it's like the big thing that we're kind of fighting against is hopelessness and this feeling of like, well, I'm stuck and I'm just going to have to feel bad forever. And it's just not true. You know, there's so much you can do between cognitive therapy and internal family systems therapy and journaling and meditation and talking to people and changing your lifestyle. It's really just a message of, you know, being able to keep trying different things. One of the comments definitely says, Jim, don't freak out, freak in. That's great.
I said that to her the other day. Yeah.
I love that.
It's a good quote.
Trying to think. It's 8:05.
Yeah, I just want to echo a little bit more, which is like,
please,
like you guys are, the message we say at the end of every YouTube video is you're not alone and you're not stuck. You might just need some support. So there's a lot you can do, but you know, if you don't take action, most likely nothing's going to change. And by most likely, I mean you can almost guarantee. There's a lot of just misconceptions over how to work through this stuff. And like medication is fine, whatever. It's like use it as a bridge, use it as a gift. If you check out the studies, go to PubMed and do your research. Check out what SSRIs or different forms of benzodiazepines or any anxiety medication. Look at the timeline that they're used for. Typically, it's about 6 months as an average healthy timeline. That's what they were designed for, to help bridge the gap. That being said, all these techniques and everything that we teach are tools. And I use several different tools, as Ennis does. I use healthy eating, exercise. I use parts work. I use CBT. I use all that stuff on a pretty regular basis to keep this all at bay, to maintain a balanced lifestyle. If you don't know the tools, just like if you were a carpenter, you have to go to carpentry school. You have to develop these tools, physically buy them, get to know how to use them, in different contexts. And that's how this works. It's very, very parallel to just building a skill set. But for the love of everything, you are not stuck in any way. Take action. We're here to help. There's tons of great books, tons of great resources, tons of great therapists. And it comes with the caveat of like, try harder. Just stick with it and try harder, because it just takes effort. It took me a couple of years to develop the tools and start to feel like I was able to work things through. And then so much of this is just the basic stuff: speaking out, feeling confident, feeling like taking up space is okay, having good relationships, getting out of shitty relationships, getting out of situations you don't want to be in. There's a lot of what we call congruent depression and anxiety, which is like, it's just situational. It's like anybody would be depressed in it. It's not even special to you. If you are suffering from chronic or clinical anxiety or depression, then you're still not stuck in any way. So just take an action. And if you don't know what to do, just message us, set up a free consultation. We'll get on the phone with you and we'll lead you in the right direction. We'll tell you what the right tools for you. Yeah, read this book, go find a therapist with this model, or find a coach who specializes in this, whatever. But just get out there. Let's do it. Let's go. Let's do it. You can feel so much better.
And look at the parts of you that are resisting to change, because sometimes it's like change is viewed as this like scary thing of like, well, if I have to change, then I'm going to have to do things that are overwhelming, or I'm going to have to do things that feel terrible. And that's just not necessarily true at all. Change is associated with, new situations, and that's not always the case either. You might be in the same situation but just behaving differently in it, or maybe not even behaving differently but feeling differently about it. So often it's like the real transformation is internal. It's like people around you are acting the same, doing the same things, but you're just not responding to them in the same way. Same with your body. Your body might be doing the same things, same irregular heart rate, same random sensations, but without that response, no panic attack, right? So much of what we talk about here is changing the response.
Absolutely. Yeah. And just guys, just remember, no matter how bad things are, no matter how long it's been going for Fee, no matter where you are, how stuck you feel, you're never stuck. You just need some support, whether it's the community, whether it's a good coach or counselor, whether it's the right information. You're never stuck. Beyond that, anything you want to add?
No, just
I'm exhausted from this one.
See you guys next week.
So much love to you guys. Thank you so much. Follow us on YouTube. You can follow us here on Facebook. Private messages to set up that consultation. If anybody wants a copy of the Panic Response Plan book, you can send us a message with your email, and we will send that out to you. We'll be back next week. For Ennis, I'm Jim. We're Inner Solutions. Peace. Thank you.